Listen to me. You've been losing sleep over something that God already settled. You've been crying over a door that's already open. You just haven't walked through it yet. You've been worrying about tomorrow while God already wrote the ending before your story even began. Stop pacing the floor. Stop replaying that pain. Stop doubting yourself, because the very thing you think is falling apart is actually falling into place. You see, worry is the thief of your peace. It's the silent storm that breaks your spirit before life even does. But I came to tell somebody, Gio already worked it out. While you were stressing, he was solving. While you were doubting, he was delivering. While you were questioning, he was aligning every piece to bring you right where you need to be. Take your hands off what only heaven can handle, because the battle was never yours. It's been God's all along. God is always ahead of you. He's not behind you, chasing after the pieces of your broken plans. He's not sitting somewhere waiting for you to fail so he can fix it. No, he's there ahead of you. He's in your tomorrow while you're still trapped in your yesterday. He's already standing in the place you're trying to reach, preparing the way before you ever take your first step. And that's why you have to stop worrying, because what looks uncertain to you is already settled to him. You see, we live our lives thinking that every delay is a disaster, that every pause means something went wrong. But God doesn't operate on our schedule. He's not bound by time. He created time. And when the creator of time is managing your destiny, there's no such thing as late. There's no such thing as forgotten. Every moment you're waiting is a moment he's working. You may not see it. You may not feel it. You've got to believe that behind the curtain of your confusion, he's orchestrating something that will make sense in its season. Sometimes we get frustrated because our plans don't move fast enough. We want to see results now. We want answers immediately. We want the dream to unfold overnight. Have you ever thought that maybe God is protecting you from something you're not ready for yet? Sometimes his delays are not denials. They are shields. You think you're waiting on him, but in truth, he's waiting on you to mature, to trust, to let go of control. Because if he gave it to you too soon, you would lose it too easily. When God is ahead of you, he's not just preparing the blessing, he's preparing of you for the blessing. He's aligning the right people, the right opportunities, the right timing. He's arranging circumstances that seem random to you, but are perfectly connected to your destiny. Every detour, every disappointment, you faced was not a setback. It was a setup for something greater. You might not have understood why certain doors closed, but one day you'll thank him for every single one, because the door that closed kept you from walking into something that would have destroyed you. We often pray for things that aren't aligned with where God is taking us. We ask for comfort when he's calling us into growth. We ask for speed when he's developing strength, and we think he's ignoring us, but he's not ignoring you. He's investing in you. He's building the patience, the resilience, the character that will sustain the blessing when it comes. To love enough and care enough, because God doesn't want to give you something you can't handle. He wants to give you something that will handle you well. So when you don't understand the timing, remind yourself that he's not just the God of your past or your present. He's already in your future. Before you even arrive, he's been there setting the stage. Before you speak the words, he's been working the answer. Before you face the battle, he's already written the victory. That's why the scripture says, he goes before you. It means he's not reacting to your problems. He's preparing for them. He's already made a way of escape before the trap was ever set. And this is where your peace comes from. Not from everything going right, from knowing that even when everything feels wrong, God is still right on time. You don't have to have all the answers when you know the one who does. You don't have to control every outcome when you trust the one who controls it all. When you believe that God is ahead of you, you stop panicking about the unknown because you realize it's not unknown to him. There are things you're stressing about right now that God already solved. So he's already spoken peace over that storm. He's already written provision into your next chapter. You just haven't walked far enough to see it yet. That's why you can't quit in the middle of the process. Don't let your fear of what you can't see make you forget what he already promised. Because even when the path is dark, his light is guiding your steps. You might not see the whole road. He's giving you just enough light for today. And that's all you need. Think about this: when a shepherd leads his sheep, he doesn't walk behind them shouting directions. He walks ahead of them, clearing the path, watching for danger, making sure the way is safe. That's how God leads you. He's not pushing you from behind. He's pulling you forward into purpose. Every obstacle that could have stopped you, he's already moved it. Every enemy that planned to harm you, he's already defeated them. Every situation meant to break you, he's already turned it into a lesson that will bless you. So stop worrying about how it's going to work out. It's already worked out. Stop asking when it will happen. It's already set in motion. You may not see the evidence yet, but faith isn't about seeing. It's about trusting the one who sees everything. And when you start living like you believe you's ahead of you, you stop rushing. You stop forcing. You stop fearing. You start walking in peace, knowing that your steps are ordered and your outcome is secure. You don't have to figure it all out because God already has. He's not surprised by your struggle. He's not shocked by your tears. He knew the storm would come before you ever stepped into it. He's already prepared the rainbow on the other side. So lift your head, dry your eyes, breathe again. Because what's in front of you is not unknown. It's prepared. God is already there, making the crooked path straight, turning chaos into clarity, and working everything together for your good. You may be walking into a new season, but you're not walking into it alone. He's already in that season waiting for you to arrive. And when you get there, you'll realize that every step, every delay, every tear had a purpose. So stop worrying about the road ahead. The one who walks before you has already made it safe. God is not just with you, he's ahead of you. And that means victory is not something you're chasing, it's something you're walking into. Worry is a form of distrust. It is the silent confession that you don't really believe things will turn out the way God said they would. Worry whispers that you must handle it all by yourself, that somehow the creator of the universe needs your help to make things work. But the truth is, worry doesn't change the outcome, it only changes you. It steals your peace, drains your strength, and blinds your vision. It makes you live in fear of something that hasn't even happened yet. Worry is faith in reverse. Faith believes that God will do it. Worry believes that he won't. When you worry, you invite fear into the driver's seat of your life. You start making decisions out of panic instead of purpose. You react instead of responding. You become so focused on what might go wrong that you miss what's already going right. Worry magnifies your problems and minimizes your faith. It tricks you into thinking your storm is bigger than your Savior. And before you know it, you're carrying burdens you were never built to carry. That's why worry wears you down, because you're trying to lift something only God can handle. Every time you let worry take control, you build a wall between you and the peace that's already yours. You start to believe the lie that if you don't stress about it, you're not being responsible. But worrying isn't responsibility, it's rebellion. Because when you worry, you're saying, God, I don't trust you to take care of this, so I'll carry it myself. And yet, he's already told you to cast your cares upon him, not to carry them. You're not built for that weight. The anxiety you feel is proof that your spirit is trying to do a job only God can do. Worry always starts small. It begins as a thought, just a little what if? What if I fail? What if they leave? What if it doesn't work out? But if you let that thought stay too long, it takes root. It grows into fear. Fear grows into doubt, and doubt turns into paralysis. You start overthinking every move, questioning every decision, replaying every mistake. That's how worry traps you, by keeping your mind locked in a cycle of fear about a future that doesn't even exist yet. You end up living in tomorrow while missing the peace that belongs to you today. Worry is a thief, and it's been robbing you quietly. It steals your sleep at night, your focus during the day, your gratitude in the moment. It steals your joy when you should be celebrating, your confidence when you should be believing, your hope when you should be resting. Worry is not just an emotion. It's an enemy dressed like a friend. It convinces you that thinking about the problem will solve it when all it does is deepen your fear. You can't think your way into peace. You can only trust your way into it. When you truly trust God, you stop trying to understand everything. You stop needing to control every detail. You realize that His understanding is greater than and His plan is bigger than your imagination. The same God who hung the stars in the sky knows the exact outcome of the situation you're worried about. He's already worked out the ending. You're just in the middle of the story. But worry makes you forget that. It makes you think that the middle is the end, that what you see now is all there will ever be. But faith says, even if I can't see it yet, I know He's working. A worry is built on the illusion that you can fix it. But peace is built on the revelation that you don't have to. The moment you let go, the moment you release the outcome, you invite God to take His rightful place in your situation. You'll never see His power fully until you stop trying to play His role. As long as you're holding on to the problem, He can't move like He wants to. You've got to make a trade. Your worry for His wisdom, your fear for His favor, your control for His covering. Think about the times you worried in the past. All those nights you couldn't sleep, all those moments you thought you wouldn't make it. And yet, here you are. You survived every single thing that tried to break you. And not only did you survive, but you learned, you grew, you became stronger. That means God was working even when you were worrying. He was faithful even when you were fearful. If He brought you through then, makes you think He won't do it again now. Worry is useless energy spent on an outcome you cannot change. It gives you the illusion of control, but leaves you powerless. When you worry, you speak defeat over your destiny before the battle has even begun. But faith, on the other hand, speaks victory even when the odds look impossible. You can't hold both at the same time. You have to choose which one will lead your life, faith or fear. Worry will always whisper, "What if it doesn't work?" But faith will always answer, "What if it does?" There's freedom in letting go. There's peace in surrender. Because once you truly trust that God is for you, you'll stop fearing what's against you. The storms may still come, the problem may still rise, but you'll face them differently. You'll walk through them with calm instead of chaos, confidence instead of confusion. You'll know that worry doesn't have the power to change what only God can control. You don't need to carry that weight another day. The one who holds the universe together can hold your situation too. You don't need to replay the problem. You need to release it. You don't need to figure out how it ends. You just need to trust the one who wrote it. Because every time you choose trust over worry, peace takes root. Time you release control, grace flows in. So breathe, rest. Stop rehearsing the worst case scenario in your mind. The same God who took care of you yesterday is taking care of you now. You don't have to fear the future because He's already there. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to fix everything because He's already working it out. Worry doesn't make you more prepared. It just makes you more tired. Let it go. Because when you finally stop worrying, you'll start seeing the evidence of what's been true all along. God has never failed you, and He never will. Faith and worry can't live together. They are opposites, like light and darkness. When one enters, the other has to leave. You can't speak words of faith on Sunday and live in fear on Monday. You can't say you trust God and then spend every night pacing the floor, trying to figure out what He already finished. Faith says, "It is done." Worry says, "What if it's not?" Faith looks forward with confidence. Worry looks backward with doubt. And as long as both are fighting for space in your heart, you will always feel torn between peace and panic. Faith is not just believing that God exists, it's believing that He is in control. It's knowing that even when the pieces don't make sense, plan still does. Worry, on the other hand, is believing that you have to control it all, that if you stop thinking about it, somehow it will fall apart. But here's the truth, you were never meant to hold both faith and fear in the same hand. One of them will always crush the other. Whichever one you feed is the one that will rule your life. When faith lives in your heart, it gives you peace even in chaos. It tells you You don't have to see how it's going to work. You just have to trust who's working it. Faith is quiet confidence that your future is already safe in the hands of your Creator. It's the calm in the storm that says, even though I don't understand, I know I'm not abandoned. But worry is loud. It screams in your mind. It repeats every fear. It builds every possible worst-case scenario. It makes you forget what God already promised. Worry clouds your vision until you can't see the blessings right in front of you because you're too focused on the burdens ahead of you. Faith and worry both require imagination. One imagines victory, the other imagines defeat. One paints a picture of a hopeful tomorrow, paints a picture of disaster. The difference is in what you choose to believe. Faith says something good is on the way. Worry says something bad is coming. And yet both are built on things you cannot see. That means you have a choice. Will you believe the fear or will you believe the faith? Will you build your life on what could go wrong or will you stand on the promise that God makes all things right in His time? You can't worship and worry at the same time. You can't praise with one breath and panic with the next. Two cannot share the same space because one destroys the other. When you let worry in, you shut the door to peace. When you let faith in, you silence the voice of fear. That's why every day you have to make a decision, not once, but daily, to choose faith over fear, trust over tension, peace over panic, because worry will always try to return. It doesn't need an invitation, it just looks for an open door. And if you don't guard your thoughts, worry will sneak back in and make you forget how far God has already brought you. There comes a moment when you have to tell yourself, either I trust Him or I don't. There's no middle ground. You can't halfway believe and halfway worry because partial trust still equals doubt. Faith doesn't need evidence to believe. Believes until evidence appears. Worry needs proof, constant reassurance, constant signs. But faith says, even when I don't see it, I still know He's working. Faith is the language of heaven. Worry is the noise of fear. The more you speak faith, the quieter worry becomes. When you start living by faith, your outlook changes. The same problem that used to make you anxious will now make you pray. The same uncertainty that once made you cry will now make you calm. Because faith doesn't remove the storm, it gives you strength to stand through it. Faith doesn't mean you won't feel afraid. It means you won't let fear decide your future. It's standing in the middle of chaos and saying, I still believe God has a plan. Well, worry is heavy, but faith is light. Worry weighs down your soul. Faith lifts it up. Worry drains your energy. Faith renews it. Worry tells you it's over. Faith says it's only beginning. Every time you worry, you waste strength on something that can't be changed by fear. But every time you trust, you build strength in the one who can change everything with a single word. That's why peace isn't found in solving problems. It's found in surrendering them. If you keep feeding worry, it will grow until it consumes you. But if you feed faith, it will rise until nothing can shake you. You grow faith by remembering what God has already done. Every time He came through, every time He opened a door, every time He made a way, that's proof that He'll do it again. Worry forgets your history. Faith builds on it. Worry says, maybe this time will be different. Faith says, hey, He's the same yesterday, today, forever. There's something powerful that happens when you choose faith in the middle of fear. Heaven moves, God responds to faith, not fear. Fear paralyzes, but faith activates. Fear tells you to stop trying, but faith tells you to keep walking even when you can't see where the road leads. Fear says you'll fail, but faith says this is just a step toward victory. You have to speak faith louder than the voice of fear. You have to remind yourself that the same God who created the universe can handle what's happening in your life. So if you've been worrying, if your mind has been running wild with questions, take a deep breath. Let it go. Tell your heart to rest. You don't have to figure it out because faith already knows who will. You don't need to understand the plan to trust the planner. Every time you choose to trust, you tell fear it has no power here. You tell worry that it can no longer live where faith has moved in. You can't stop worry from knocking, but you can refuse to let it in. You can choose to open the door to faith instead. Because where faith lives, peace reigns. Where faith abides, miracles happen. And where faith stands, worry falls. So stand firm, speak faith, walk faith. Because the moment faith enters the room, worry has to leave. And that's when you'll realize peace was waiting for you all along. Your delay doesn't mean denial. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Sometimes God's timing feels like a mystery because you're looking for movement while He's building foundation. You're waiting for the door to open. He's reinforcing the frame so that when it opens, it won't collapse under the weight of your blessing. Delay is not punishment, it's preparation. It's God saying, you're not ready yet, but you will be. And when you finally get there, you'll look back and realize that what you thought was a setback was actually His way of setting you up for something greater. There's a deep frustration that comes with waiting. Waiting can make you feel forgotten, overlooked, or even unworthy. You start asking questions like, why not me? And when will it be my turn? But what you don't realize is that waiting seasons are not wasted seasons. They are sacred moments where God develops the strength, wisdom, and maturity you'll need for what's ahead. Sometimes He withholds what you want so He can give you what you need. Because if you received the blessing before you were ready, it could destroy you instead of develop you. Delay tests your heart. It exposes your motives and your patience. It teaches you to trust the plan, even when you don't understand the process. God uses time to shape you into the person who can carry the promise. The longer the wait, the deeper the work. While you're asking for speed, He's building stability. While you're crying for results, He's creating roots. Because what comes quickly can fade quickly, but what is built in patience lasts. The waiting doesn't mean He's forgotten you. It means He's focused on you. Every second of delay is filled with divine intention. When you don't see progress, it's easy to assume that nothing is happening. But faith is not about what you see, it's about what you believe. A seed buried in the soil doesn't look alive, but that doesn't mean it's dead. It's growing in the dark, pushing through layers of dirt, preparing to break through at the appointed time. Your life is like that seed. God may have buried you in seasons that felt like endings, but He was actually planting you for new beginnings. The dirt wasn't there to bury you. It was there to grow you. So many people give up too soon because they mistake silence for absence. They think that because God isn't answering, He's not listening. But silence is often the sound of strategy. It's God working behind the scenes, arranging the details you can't see. You don't have to hear Him to know He's working. The greatest things He does are often hidden until the right time. You can't rush divine timing because it's not random, it's perfect. Everything He does is intentional. Every delay has purpose. Every pause has meaning. Every waiting season is shaping the story that will one day make you say, now I understand why it had to happen that way. The problem with us is that we measure time by clocks and calendars, but God measures time by purpose. You think in minutes and days, but He thinks in maturity and destiny. He won't release something into your life until you're ready to handle it, until the environment around you is ready to support it. That's why forcing a blessing before its time can become a burden. Some doors stay closed because God loves you too much to let you walk into something that would crush you. What feels like rejection is often divine protection. Every delay in your life has a reason attached to it. Maybe He's protecting you from a danger you can't see. Maybe He's aligning the right people, the right place, the right opportunity. Maybe He's stretching your patience so your faith grows stronger. Or maybe He's letting you sit still long enough to realize that what you thought you needed isn't what you needed at all. God's not yet. Doesn't mean no. It simply means, wait, I'm working something better. And when that better thing comes, you'll understand why He made you wait for it. Waiting reveals your level of trust. When you trust that God's timing is perfect, you stop fighting the process. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop trying to rush what was meant to unfold slowly. You realize that the waiting is a part of the blessing because it teaches you to depend on Him and not the outcome. It teaches you to live in peace before you ever see the promise. Because if you can find peace while waiting, challenge you to love enough for how to keep it when you receive what you've been waiting for. Think about how many times in your life you thought something was over, only to look back later and realize it was just delayed. You didn't get the job, but then a better opportunity came. You lost a relationship, then found one that was truly meant for you. You thought the dream was dead, but it came back to life stronger than before. That's what happens when you trust the timing of God. Delay becomes destiny. Every detour becomes direction. Every pause becomes part of His perfect plan. You may be in a waiting season right now. You may feel like nothing is moving, like your prayers are bouncing off the ceiling. Don't let impatience make you miss what God is doing. Every great thing takes time. Even the sunrise doesn't happen all at once. It takes gradual light to break the darkness. Your life is the same way. Slowly but surely, the light will come. The answers will unfold, the breakthrough will appear, and when it does, it will arrive right on time. Not your time, but His. So hold on. Keep believing. Keep trusting. What looks like delay is not denial. It's divine preparation. The same God who promised to complete the good work in you hasn't changed His mind. He's not late. He's not forgotten you. He's simply getting everything ready for the moment when promise meets purpose. And when that moment comes, you'll realize that the waiting was not a waste. It was the work of a faithful God making sure that when the blessing finally arrives, you'll be ready to receive it with strength, wisdom, and gratitude. Stop trying to control what's not yours. That's one of the hardest lessons life will ever teach you. We spend so much of our energy trying to fix, manage, and manipulate things that were never placed in our hands to begin with. We fight to make people stay who were meant to leave. We try to open doors that were never ours to walk through. We exhaust ourselves trying to rewrite outcomes that only God can author. Control feels safe, but it's an illusion. It gives you the temporary comfort of feeling powerful, but in reality, it drains you because you're carrying a responsibility you were never built to bear. You can't control what people do. You can't control how life unfolds. You can't control the timing, the outcome, or the way others respond, but you can control how you trust, how you wait, how you respond, and how you let go. The more you try to hold on, the tighter your grip becomes, and the more peace slips through your fingers. You weren't created to manage the entire universe. You were created to rest in the one who does. And the moment you realize that something powerful happens inside you, you stop striving and start surrendering. Surrender doesn't mean giving up, it means giving over. It's the act of saying, God, I don't understand this. I trust you with it. It's letting go of your need to control the process and embracing faith in the outcome. Because the truth is, control and peace can't live in the same heart. When you try to control everything, you rob yourself of peace. But when you surrender, peace flows like a river through your soul. You start to breathe again. You stop overthinking. You stop rehearsing the same worries in your mind. You start living free. There's a strange comfort in trying to control things because it tricks your mind into believing that you're preventing pain. You think that if you can plan every detail, you can avoid disappointment. But life doesn't work that way. The more you try to control it, the more frustrated you become when it doesn't bend to your will. The truth is, some things will never make sense from where you're standing. Some doors will close without explanation. Some prayers will take longer than you expected. Some people will change. Some opportunities will pass. None of it means you've failed. It simply means that you are not the one writing the story. You're the one living it. When you release control, you give God permission to move freely in your life. As long as your hands are clenched around your plans, He can't fill them with His. Surrender opens space for divine direction. You begin to see things differently. You begin to feel lighter. You begin to notice how many times before, when you thought everything was falling apart, it was actually falling into place. The job you didn't get led to something better. The relationship that ended made room for healing. The plan that failed opened a new path that was far more fitting for who you were becoming. That's the beauty of surrender. It allows you to experience the peace that control could never give you. Trying to control everything often comes from fear. Fear that if you don't handle it, no one will. Fear that if you let go, everything will crumble. Fear that you won't survive the uncertainty. Faith speaks louder than fear. Faith says, even if I don't hold it together, God will. Faith says, even if I lose this, greater will come. Faith whispers, I can trust what I can't see because I know who's in control. You can't hold faith and fear in the same hand. At some point, you must choose one, and the moment you choose faith, fear begins to lose its grip. Control is rooted in pride, but surrender is rooted in trust. Pride says, I can fix this. Trust says, God, you've got this. Pride tries to predict the outcome. Trust embraces the unknown. Pride tries to write the story. Trust reads the story with peace, knowing that every chapter has purpose. When you stop trying to control, you finally make room for grace. You realize that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers, and you don't have to carry it all alone. You can finally rest knowing that what's meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you is never meant for you. Think of all the times you tried to control the outcome. You worried yourself sick, replayed conversations, forced plans, chased after things that drained your energy. And yet, when it was all said and done, the situation worked out in a completely different way than you expected. That's proof that control is an illusion. You were never really in charge. You were just learning to trust. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner peace will return. Because the peace you're praying for is waiting on the surrender you've been avoiding. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying what isn't yours. It means you stop living with the pressure to make everything perfect. It means you allow life to unfold without fear, trusting that even if it looks messy right now, there's purpose in every moment. When you stop trying to control, you start noticing the beauty in things you used to overlook. The quiet moments, the simple blessings, the unexpected detours that lead to growth. You stop resisting the flow of life and start moving with it. You can't heal while you're holding on to control. You can't receive while your fists are clenched. Open hands receive more than closed ones ever will. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is not moving but waiting, not fixing but trusting, not planning but praying. Challenge you to love enough and care. You don't have to understand everything to surrender it. You just have to be willing to say, God, I don't know what you're doing. I know you're doing something good. When you release control, you find freedom. You discover that peace doesn't come from knowing the plan. It comes from knowing the planner. You realize that it's not your job to control the waves. It's your job to trust the one who commands the sea. And once you do that, life becomes lighter. You stop trying to hold together what God is asking you to hand over. You stop fighting the current and start floating in His grace. Because the truth is, you were never meant to control everything. You were meant to surrender, to trust, and to rest in the arms of the one who already has everything under control. Don't let your emotions make decisions that your wisdom should be making. Emotions are powerful, but they are temporary. They rise and fall like waves. If you allow them to steer your life, you'll always be tossed back and forth by every feeling that comes your way. There are moments when anger feels justified, when sadness feels endless, fear feels louder than faith. But those are the moments when you must pause and choose wisdom over reaction. Because emotions can mislead you, but wisdom will always guide you toward peace. You've probably had moments when you said something in anger and later wished you hadn't. Times when you made a decision out of fear and later realized it cost you something greater. That's the power emotions hold when they're left unchecked. They blind you to the truth. They make temporary feelings feel permanent, and they convince you that what you feel right now is what you'll feel forever. But life isn't built on moments of emotion. It's built on choices made with clarity, patience, and peace. When emotions are high, logic is low. That's why people say things they don't mean when they're upset or walk away from things they were meant to fight for. In moments of emotional storms, your vision becomes clouded. You stop seeing things as they are and start seeing them as your feelings interpret them. That's why it's so important to give yourself the space to breathe before reacting. When you respond too quickly, You give your emotions the power to write your story. But when you pause, you give your wisdom a chance to speak. Emotions aren't evil, they're signals. They tell you something about what's happening inside you. Anger might be a signal that a boundary was crossed. Sadness might reveal that you've lost something valuable. Fear might indicate that you're stepping into the unknown. These emotions were never meant to control you. They were meant to inform you. You can acknowledge them without obeying them. You can feel deeply and still choose wisely. The goal is not to suppress what you feel, but to learn how to manage it so your feelings don't manage you. Wisdom teaches you that every emotion is a visitor, not a permanent resident. It comes, it stays for a while, and then it leaves. The mistake many people make is building a house around a temporary feeling. They make permanent choices in temporary moments. They quit jobs, end relationships, walk away from opportunities, or speak words they can't take back, all because of something that would have passed if they had just waited. Time has a way of revealing what emotion tries to hide. When you calm down, you see things differently. What looked like rejection might actually be protection. What felt like loss might be redirection. What seemed like an ending might just be a new beginning. There's strength in silence when emotions are loud. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is say nothing, do nothing, and let your feelings settle. Wisdom speaks clearly, but emotion shouts. And if you try to make choices while your heart is shouting, you'll miss what wisdom is whispering. You have to quiet the noise inside before you can hear the truth. That's why waiting is so powerful. It gives your emotions time to rest and your mind time to reflect. In that stillness, you find the clarity that emotion could never give you. Your emotions are not your enemy, but they are not your guide either. They can serve you or sabotage you depending on who's in control. When you let emotions lead, your life becomes unpredictable. One day you're hopeful, the next you're discouraged. One moment you're confident, the next you're consumed by doubt. But when you let wisdom lead, you become steady even when your feelings aren't. You learn how to walk by principles, not impulses. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop being controlled and start being calm. Every strong person you admire has learned how to master their emotions. They still feel pain, anger, disappointment, and fear, but they don't let those feelings dictate their actions. They've learned the art of self-control, not because they're cold or emotionless, but because they understand that wisdom is stronger than emotion. They know that reacting quickly can destroy what patience could have saved, and that sometimes silence speaks louder than shouting ever could. Think about how many times emotions have led people astray, relationships destroyed because of words spoken in anger, opportunities missed because of fear, dreams abandoned because of discouragement, bridges burned because of pride. All of it starts with a feeling that wasn't managed. That's why learning emotional discipline is one of the most powerful forms of wisdom. It doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It means you take ownership of them. You acknowledge them, process them, and then make decisions from a place of peace, not pain. When you learn to separate what you feel from what you know, you gain freedom. You stop being a prisoner to your emotions. You stop apologizing for actions made in the heat of the moment. You start living from stability, not reaction. You begin to understand that feelings change, but truth doesn't. You realize that what feels unbearable today may feel completely different tomorrow. You stop letting momentary emotions create permanent consequences. The truth is, wisdom and emotion must work together. Wisdom gives direction, emotion gives depth, but emotion must follow wisdom, not lead it. When you let wisdom lead, you learn how to feel your emotions without becoming them. You can be angry without sinning, sad without despairing, afraid without retreating. Wisdom gives you balance. It tells you when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to wait, when to hold on and when to let go. Every time you choose wisdom over emotion, you grow stronger. You learn how to protect your peace. You start making choices that align with your long-term purpose, not your short-term pain. You start walking in maturity, reaction, and slowly you begin to see how powerful it is to be calm in a world that thrives on chaos. Calmness doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've learned that not every feeling deserves a reaction. So the next time your emotions rise, Pause, breathe. Don't let that wave decide the direction of your life. Feel it, acknowledge it, and then choose what wisdom says. Because emotions are visitors, they'll pass. But the decisions you make while they visit will stay. Let wisdom, not emotion, write the story of your life. Peace is not something that happens by accident. It's a choice you make every single day. A decision to protect your heart, your mind, and your spirit from the noise that tries to pull you apart. Life will always give you reasons to worry, reasons to be angry, reasons to feel afraid. But peace is what you choose in spite of all that. Peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of calm in the middle of them. It's that quiet strength inside you that refuses to be shaken even when everything around you feels uncertain. You have to understand that peace doesn't just show up, it's something you fight for. Because every day, the world will try to steal it. The moment you wake up, distractions come knocking. The phone rings, the bills are due, the people around you bring their chaos, and your mind starts to race. But you have to guard your peace like it's treasure, because it is. Once you lose it, everything else starts to crumble. Peace is what gives you clarity when emotions want to cloud your judgment. Peace is what keeps you standing when storms start to rage. Peace is what allows you to smile even when you don't have all the answers. Peace is a decision, not a feeling. You may not always feel peaceful. You can still choose to act with peace. You can choose not to react. You can choose not to let every small thing disturb you. Because peace comes when you stop letting outside circumstances control your inside condition. People can be rude, situations can be unfair, life can be unpredictable. But none of it has the power to destroy your peace unless you give it permission. You decide what gets your attention, what gets your energy, and what gets your reaction. The less you give to chaos, the more peace you keep. So many people spend their lives chasing peace through things, through success, money, relationships, validation, only to find out that none of it lasts. Because peace doesn't live in possessions, it lives in perspective. You can have everything the world offers and still feel restless inside. And you can have nothing but still walk in a peace that can't be explained. Peace doesn't come from what you have, it comes from what you know. When you know who you are and where your strength comes from, you stop being tossed around by the storms of life. You learn how to rest even when the wind is blowing. Peace is not weakness. Some people think that staying calm means you don't care or that you're avoiding conflict, but that's not true. Peace takes power. It takes strength to stay still when everything in you wants to react. It takes maturity to be quiet when you could argue. It takes faith to believe that you don't have to fight every battle, because some battles are meant to be left in bigger hands than yours. You don't always have to prove yourself, explain yourself, or defend yourself. Sometimes peace means walking away and letting time reveal the truth. When you protect your peace, you protect your purpose. Because chaos will always try to distract you from what really matters. The enemy of peace is distraction. It doesn't have to destroy you. It just has to keep you busy worrying about the wrong things. That's why you have to stay focused. Some arguments aren't worth your words. Some situations aren't worth your stress. Some people aren't worth your energy. The moment you learn to choose peace over reaction, your life changes. You stop being drained by things that don't deserve your strength. There's a power in silence that most people overlook. When you learn to stay quiet instead of reacting to every situation, you protect your peace and your wisdom. You don't always need to respond immediately. You don't always need to fix everything. Sometimes peace means trusting that what's meant for you won't need you to fight for it. It means knowing that if something costs you your peace, it's too expensive. The more you mature, the more you realize that peace is not found in control. It's found in surrender. It's found in letting go of what you can't change and focusing on what you can. Peace also comes when you forgive. Because bitterness is a heavy weight that blocks peace from flowing. Holding on to anger doesn't hurt the other person. It hurts you. Forgiveness doesn't mean what they did was right. It means you're refusing to let it control you any longer. The moment you forgive, you set yourself free. You stop living in the prison of your past and step in the freedom of your present. Peace grows in the soul of forgiveness, patience, and understanding. Every day you'll be tested. Something or someone will try to pull you out of your peace. And in that moment, you'll have to decide, will I let this disturb me or will I rise above it? Peace doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you face it with the right mindset. You can look at chaos and still say, I won't let this steal my calm. That's power. That's control. Because when you stay peaceful, you stay powerful. Anger, anxiety, and fear weaken you. They drain your focus and rob your joy. But peace gives you strength. It gives you endurance. It gives you the ability to handle pressure without breaking. Peace is a shield. It guards your heart and your mind from the noise of life. It reminds you that you don't have to react to everything you feel. You don't have to chase every thought that crosses your mind. You don't have to fight every battle that comes your way. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is staying still and letting peace do the work, so choose peace. Every morning when you wake up, make that choice again. Choose it over worry. Choose it over fear. Choose it over anger. Because peace is not something the world can give. It's not something the world can take away. It's yours the moment you decide to stop letting life dictate your emotions. It's yours when you stop fighting to control what you can't change. It's yours when you decide that calm is more valuable than chaos. And the more you choose peace, the stronger it grows. It becomes your default, your foundation, your anchor. You stop being shaken by small things because your spirit has learned to rest in something greater than circumstance. That's when you discover that peace was never about what happens around you. It's about what's happening within you. And once you find that, nothing can take it away. God's plan never fails, even when life doesn't go the way you thought it would. Even when everything seems delayed, broken, or completely out of place, the plan still stands. You may not understand it right now, but there is a divine order behind the disorder. There is a reason behind the confusion. Every moment that felt like a mistake is still part of a perfect design. Because when God writes your story, not even your own detours can cancel his direction. You might wander off the path, but you'll never fall out of his plan. What he began in your life, he will finish, and nothing can stop what's already been written for you. We often think the plan has failed when things don't happen the way we expected. We start to question, we start to doubt, we start to wonder if we missed our moment. But the truth is, you cannot mess up what God has destined. You might delay it with fear or impatience, but you can never destroy it. The plan was set long before you took your first breath. Every wrong turn, every heartbreak, every delay was already accounted for. Nothing catches God by surprise. What looks like a mistake to you is often a strategy in disguise. What you call a setback is often just preparation for a comeback you didn't see coming. Sometimes God's plan takes you through dark places not to punish you, but to prepare you. You can't learn strength without pressure. You can't understand faith without uncertainty. You can't experience growth without discomfort. There are lessons that can only be learned in silence and strength that can only be built in struggle. When it feels like God is quiet, he's not ignoring you. He's working behind the scenes. The silence is not absence, it's alignment. It's the space between the promise and the manifestation where your faith is tested and your character is shaped. It's easy to trust the plan when everything makes sense, but real faith is trusting it when nothing does. It's believing that even though you don't see the way, there is still a way being made for you. God's plan doesn't always match your logic, but it always fulfills his purpose. Sometimes he'll close doors that you were begging him to open. Sometimes he'll remove people you thought you needed. Sometimes he'll delay what you're praying for because you're not ready to receive it yet. It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's his way of steering you away from what would have destroyed you, even if it looked good at the time. You see, problem is we often measure the plan by comfort, but God measures it by purpose. We want things to be easy, smooth, and quick. He wants them to be lasting, meaningful, and eternal. He's not trying to make you comfortable. He's trying to make you complete. So when life starts to shake, when things fall apart, don't assume the plan has failed. It's often just shifting into a new phase. What feels like an ending is sometimes the beginning of a chapter that will change your life. When you look back over your journey, challenge you to love enough, you'll realize that every disappointment pushed you closer to your destiny. Every closed door protected you from something that wasn't meant for you. Every delay developed something in you that success never could. There were things you didn't get because they weren't yours to carry. There were people who left because they couldn't go where you're headed. The plan didn't fail. It just didn't look like what you imagined. In the end, you'll see that every tear, every trial, and every test was necessary. God's plan is not fragile. It doesn't fall apart when you do. Even your mistakes can't derail it because His grace is woven into the plan. He knew your weaknesses, your flaws, and your failures before He even called you, and He still chose you. That means your past can't cancel your purpose. You might have taken the long way, but you're still on your way. What's meant for you will always find you, even if it takes years. God knows how to restore what was lost, rebuild what was broken, and redeem what was wasted. His plan includes your restoration, not just your destination. Sometimes you'll look around and see people moving faster, getting ahead, achieving what you've been praying for, and you'll start to wonder if you've been forgotten. But remember, God's plan for you is personal. You can't compare your path to someone else's process. What He's doing in you might take longer because He's building something stronger. Some foundations take more time because the structure being built is meant to last. So don't rush it. Don't force it. Don't panic when it takes longer than you expected. The right thing at the wrong time can still ruin you, and God loves you too much to let that happen. There are moments in life when you'll feel stuck, like nothing is moving. You'll pray and see no change. You'll work and see no progress. But even then, the plan is still active. God's timing is not like ours. He works in seasons, not seconds. You might think nothing's happening, but underground, roots are growing. Before anything can rise, it must first be grounded. What feels like delay is often development. You're being strengthened, refined, and prepared for the weight of what's coming. And when the time is right, everything will fall into place so naturally that you'll look back and realize why it had to take so long. You'll understand why those people had to leave, why those doors had to close, why those plans had to fail. Because if they hadn't, you would have settled for less than what was meant for you. God's plan never fails. It only unfolds in ways we don't expect. It's not just about getting what you want. It's about becoming who you're meant to be along the way. So when things don't go your way, don't lose heart. The plan is still in motion. When you feel forgotten, remember you're still being written into the story. When you can't see the path, trust that the one who created it still knows where it leads. Life may shake, but the plan stands firm. You may stumble, but the plan will still bring you back. You may not see it now, but every detour is leading you exactly where you're supposed to be. Because God's plan never fails. And when you finally arrive, you'll realize it was perfect all along.